Here we go. We are recording. That is the theme song to the GenXR podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the GenXR podcast. I am Doug Vi. I'm here with two people that some of you may know. We've got David Mason, and we have Tim Tinsman. Hey, guys. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So the topic today, the main topic today, other than just shooting the bull with some old friends and telling some cool stories, is bullying. All right. I was bullied. I bullied one person one time and felt bad about it. You've been bullied. You've been bullied, David.
Yes.
And you've bullied.
Yeah.
You were Aldridge Elementary?
Aldridge, yeah.
Aldridge Elementary. What time did you get into Aldridge, Tim? What grade? From the beginning? Second?
No. I think it was like fourth or fifth grade when I
Fourth or fifth grade.
Yeah, I got hit by a car.
Oh, that's
when I was
right.
8, and that just tore my legs up. And yeah, I mean, it took me about a year or two to go through therapy and learn to walk again. And when I first came to Aldridge, I didn't know who was who, and so sometimes I might, give somebody the bird or something, on the way out. And my first one was, if I may, name drop.
Oh, yeah, we got lots of name drops.
Probably the toughest kid in school, or the perception anyway, Craig Smith.
Oh, my gosh. Craig Smith.
Yeah, I would give him the bird and then run,
Oh, yeah, and then run.
Yeah. And
Good
eventually
plan.
It caught me, and yeah, I mean, it was not good.
We're going to be posting this on the Plano Senior High 1987 Facebook page. There's 600 and some people there, and I'm going to post it on on my Facebook page and let it go, because the video that got a lot of attention was the fight with me and Dave and Mark Ruse. Did you see that video?
I did, yeah.
What was your recollection of that?
Honestly, I don't. There were quite a few. I think ninth grade.
It was ninth grade, yeah.
And I do remember one with David at that time in between two houses, and a lot of it was like the egging on, people that were around it, like, oh yeah, we want to see a fight,
Right. Yeah, and David did. I think we really first kind of got to know one another when we were. Hold on here, I'll wait for it. When we were looking at this, so this is the picture that David sent me, and the shorts are awesome.
I love the knee pads.
The knee pads are
all
great.
about the knee pads.
So I put names on everybody, and I don't remember a lot of them. There's the Mike Davis. Mike Hanafy is on the left. Mike Hanafy, we lived on Firestone, right kind of near Mark Peretti, a friend of mine who used to live there, and then he moved to my street, Timberview. And, we hung out. He would come over and jump on the trampoline. I'd go to his house. He had the Apple II computer, and with the floppy disk in there, we played some sort of game, using the computer. And, he got picked on a lot. And so, even in this is probably the first time I got to know who Mike Hanafy was. Mike Hanafy, for those of you who don't know, has passed away. He died, I would say, probably when my wife, before we had kids, email first came out. I was like, oh, everybody's emailing everybody. And so I emailed him, he was just about to graduate from college. And so I went and visited him as an adult with my wife. And I got him a pen. Congratulations. And it was so cool to see him. He was on dialysis. He had, I think, one kidney. So he was functioning on one kidney for most of his childhood life. And I think the second kidney was given out. It was really sad. He passed away, but he went through the system just like we all did. And I found myself sticking up for him. And I think you might have been somebody who learned about. Did you say that you bullied him a little bit?
Well, obviously we were on the soccer team together, and really my first memory of bullying somebody outside my sisters from time to time was Michael, and he had trouble controlling his bowel movements, and of course that is where the bullying started with him, I believe. And we all were bullied at one point. So when you find someone else that's going to get bullied, it's easier to get on the bandwagon with everybody, so they're not pointing it to you. And the thing that I remember, we had won this real big game. I think we got third place on this team the year before we won city champs. And we went to a Dairy Queen in the neighborhood in Canyon Creek, and we were all, anyways. Coach Davis, Ray Davis, says, "You guys did so good. You can have as much ice cream as you want." So we all went to this deal, and
I remember that
we were having a good time. And I figured that since we could get as much as we want, I could play a prank on Michael, and so I unscrewed the sugar thing, and I told him, I said, "Hey, put some sugar on that and see." And anyways, he dumped it over, and it spilled everywhere. And my dad saw it, and he sat me in the car while everybody ate ice cream. So I kind of focused on Michael after that.
Yeah.
But I was embarrassed that I did what I did, and then of course my dad punished me correctly.
Correctly.
Yeah. I mean, the thing when you said Mike Hanafy passed, I found out when I was getting ready for my 8th degree black belt, and I was testing, and I wanted to reach out to Mike because Mike and Ray were the reason I started karate. They brought the whole soccer team in because we got in 3rd place, and Michael was taking karate, and he actually started increasing his goals and on the team significantly, and his dad attributed to karate, and he said, "Hey, if you guys get in karate, I think you'll be a better soccer player." So we went in, and so when anyway, so I wanted to honor Michael for bringing me in and inviting me in. I wanted to show my students how important it is to invite people into things that are important. And so when I was reminiscing with Ray Davis at their business, and Michael's working for his dad, I asked about Michael, and I wanted to reach out to him and apologize. Now I teach anti-bully classes. I really felt like I was a hypocrite, and he was the one bully. One person I remember bullying, extensively. And then he told me he passed away, and man, I was crushed. I almost started crying.
Yeah. I mean, we've all been there. I mean, school to me, I look back, is kind of like prison, where, you want to go in there and show that you're so nobody will pick on you. You want to align yourself with people. And when we were playing soccer, you had mentioned that, Ray Davis, Coach Davis, who's a genius inventor, by the way, and his son Mike, who we're friends with, is running the company now, I believe out in Garland.
Yes. And really the connection with Ray Davis and the owner of the karate school I ended up inheriting was Alan Steen. They went to college at University of Texas together, and they knew each other. And so that's how Michael ended up getting over to that karate school. It was one of the few karate schools in '78 when I started. And so, anyways, I actually had come in a few years before, and it didn't take. I was too young, and so when we came in, it just, I loved karate. I wanted to take it the first time. I just didn't want. I didn't go with friends, and so when I came with my whole soccer team, it was pretty amazing. And eventually the year after we won city champs, I was doing competitions and winning a lot of trophies, and I figured it was better to go into karate, and I ended up dropping soccer.
I've got a bunch of things here. I got name drops, okay?
Yeah.
Canyon Creek, I lived off of Timberview, which Canyon Creek ran from Renner Road to really past Lookout. It went further, but that was like the area. Lookout, Renner, and then Canyon Creek was in between. And we were on Timberview. And there was the other side, the people who went to the same school district was where Robbie Troy lived, which was on the east side of Custer.
Right, Custer.
Yeah.
That's where I lived, right.
You lived over on that side, too. Gary Hansen lived over there. Amber Ostrander lived close to you.
Just a couple houses
down. You remember Deborah Odell? Yeah. Everybody had a crush on her back then. There was 3 girls. You mentioned Craig Smith. Craig Smith, I remember, remember we took choir? Good morning, David.
Who was it?
Good morning, Mrs. Baker.
Mrs. Baker.
Mrs. Baker.
She was pretty awesome.
Wow.
Do you remember Mrs. Baker?
No.
I just remember, please don't call on me, because she would, all right, everybody, and the music would be going, good morning, Doug. And then I had to repeat it, good morning, and I would always try to be funny. Good morning, Mrs. Baker. You know. Well, anyway, that little corridor before you go out into to the next building, you have to walk across the way there. Craig Smith and I can't remember her name, Sandy, somebody, and they were kissing. And I mean, back in when you were in grade school like that, I mean, it was just like lip to lip. But they were like, they wanted to prove how long they could kiss, and we were all huddled around them, and they just were like, and we're like, oh my God, somebody was timing them. A minute.
It's got to be a record.
It's got to be a record, right? So Ashley Chandler, do you remember her?
Yeah.
Kristen Nelson. Now Paula Newell, she was awesome. Paula Newell, and then is awesome. She's still with us.
There you go.
And
Amy Bradley's another.
Amy Bradley, yeah. I think she married Novacek.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. From the Cowboys.
Right.
Yes.
Yep. We got Dane Hedges. Remember Dane?
Yep.
Gina, I don't think her was
Lehrman.
Dane and I used to, in high school, we would do this thing called urban surfing.
Okay.
And I forget the kind of car he had. It was like, just a little piece of crap.
Yeah.
But urban surfing, where you get up on the roof while he's driving around. I'd be up on the roof, through neighborhoods and stuff.
You did live through a car accident.
I was adventurous.
Right. Exactly.
Well, Dane Hedges, I don't even know, he disappeared because I don't see him on Facebook or anything.
Oh, I'm connected.
Are
with
you?
him. Yeah.
Well, there was a time he came into my house. We got into an argument, and he was walking down the Timberview. It goes down, and I went, oh yeah, and I picked up a rock and I just hurled it. I mean, it was a long way. I'm like, there's no way I was gonna hit him, but he's gonna get scared. Hit him in the head. Hit him in the head. He goes down, blood. I'm like, oh man, I'm in so much trouble. He was okay, but man, that would kind of severed, I think, a relationship moving forward. I'm like, man, there's no way I can take that back. Right. When you're kids, you just do stupid things. Diana Cottalero, saw her at the 30-year high school reunion. Yeah. She still looks great. I remember her in the gym when
so fast,
right? And her arm would, whenever she'd turn that corner, her arm went like this. And I remember going, wow, look at that. She would run, because he played tag. He was like, all right, next. And he would run around. Billy Godsmith. Mm-hmm. Bill. He goes by Bill now. Mm-hmm. He's in the video production film industry as well in L.A., I believe. Mm-hmm. And he's got some new show that's actually coming out, or he's promoting. And he and I actually got into a boat on Canyon Creek that we thought, hey, there's an abandoned boat. Let's just get in it. And we got in it, and we pushed it out there, and then we started to sink. And we're like, oh no, we're sinking. And we're like, what do we do? Billy, if you're out there, you remember that. You guys remember Moses?
That was in
Wilson.
Wilson. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was like 16 or something like that. He seemed like he was
an adult.
Older, yeah.
I think he had children.
Funny, but you didn't want to mess with Moses.
No, he was cool though.
He was cool. We got, you mentioned Craig Smith and the Kissing the Girl. And he lived in Savannah, where I live, off of 380. And I reconnected with him just to say hi. I saw him at the store and everything. I don't know what he's doing now. He's doing general contracting and like houses or buildings, something construction-wise. Craig Smith, the guys that were like, don't mess with. Craig Smith was one. I think wasn't Mike Richardson another one?
They were buddies, yeah.
Mike. Mm-hmm. Terry Luna.
Yeah.
This is now back at Aldridge, right? Yeah. Where those are the guys who kind of had the reputation of either they could handle themselves and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. A real funny story.
Yeah.
Real quick on Terry.
Get up on the mic there, would you?
Everybody knows about the Kip's Big Boy in the middle of the Plano pond thing. Mm-hmm. So Toby Daniels had been running his mouth around about him being a part of it and about the thievery of it.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah.
And that got back to one of the principals, and he basically was like got called in and Toby, and was going to get like a felony charge if he didn't have it back to school by the end of the day. But nobody knew where this Kip's Big Boy went, because somebody pulled it off the island in the middle of the day, like in between classes, and it just disappeared. Well, it turns out it was Terry Luna who had plans to bring it to his dad's lake house or something and put it up on the roof like nobody would notice that,
right?
Driving around the lake.
Sure.
But when we found that out, we were like, well, we got to get this thing. Well, Toby had like a Datsun 610 hatchback kind of car, you know, one of those, and we couldn't fit it in the car, so we ended up having to tie it to the top of the car. When we drove down to Terry's house, we got it in the backyard, and we tied it to the top of his car with a garden hose through the doors, and then had to drive it back all the way from Richardson up to Plano Senior High, you know, in rush hour traffic.
Golly.
I'm like hanging
well,
out.
I did not know.
Some rubbernecking going on.
Rubbernecking.
What?
Do you guys remember John Warren? He was Aldridge, and I believe Wilson and all that. So he lived also, I think, you know, in Firestone, and there's a street, and he kept going down. He was towards the bottom of there. He was the first guy that I encountered that we were sitting in the gym, and our backs against the wall, and teacher called him up. You need to go. You got a doctor's appointment. So he left, and then he came back, and he's like, so I guess I got to be on this new medicine. It's called Ritalin. And I go, oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, they say I've got ADD or something, and I guess problem focusing. I'm like, oh, weird. Okay. And, you know, that was in elementary school, because this is the ADD generation. ADHD generation is our generation.
Right.
You know, but, well, actually, I will correct myself. It's our kids' generation. Yes. That's our kids are the ones like, well, maybe he's got ADHD, maybe he's got sensory and, you know, issues and bipolar, all that stuff that we didn't know about was growing up. But anyway, John Warren was the first guy that I really nice guy, and he's still around. Actually, he commented on something the other day on Facebook. So hello to John Warren. Russell Griffin was a guy I met, red-haired guy. He was our band. I can't remember what they're called. Drum major, I believe it was. But so this is in like 9th grade, I believe. Like, I had a click with him and Jason Oakes and Greg Chard. And then that was when, like, dating, where I was really interested. We call him the Hulu Boo Roo, because it was Holly Fisk, who got a nickname that is unfair. Diana Gilmore. Buffy, I forgot who the Roo was, but anyway, that was like our first kind of girls. You know, we never did. We just hung out, but we were always like, yeah, maybe should I ask her out? Didn't know. I was always a scaredy cat when it came to that. Greg Sigmund. Do y'all remember Greg Sigmund? Were you friends with Greg growing up, David?
No, just knew him.
Very much so.
Yeah. You and I both.
All through high school until he passed away.
Yeah.
It was very sad.
Yeah, so Greg Sigmund, Tammy survived by Greg, and Greg was his son Hunter was my ring bearer at our wedding at the ranch.
Oh wow!
So he came out, and I still got him in the video, and him and Tammy and Hunter. Come to find out after Greg passed away, Greg had health conditions. He kind of went down a path, a very dangerous path with drugs. To where he needed a new heart, and he couldn't get one in time, and so he died. So they've had a very tragic family situation. So hearts go out to those folks, because that's tough. That is very tough. We got Bailey Bradshaw. You remember Bailey Bradshaw? Mm-hmm. He makes guns now. I mean, he's like a craftsman, and he's awesome, amazing. They are
beautiful.
Yes,
his art, the art form that he puts into that is
cool.
It's really cool.
I would definitely check out if you want anything custom made, a knife or a gun. He is the guy. He's somebody we'd do a show where I'd want to go out and talk to him at his place where he makes all the stuff. Right? Cool. Gary Hansen. We hung out. Did you hang out with Gary a little bit?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, not everyday friend, but yeah, we were friendly.
And then, once we got into Vines, Jeff Bond, Steve Clark, Cindy Leonard, Lee Murray, he's in the Party Hounds. Remember the 30-year high school reunion? They played that night.
Did they play?
Mm-hmm. Okay. They played. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they were great.
I didn't know.
They were awesome.
Yeah, I was impressed.
Kevin McKinney. Craig McKinney, is it? Or
Craig McKinney.
One of McKinney? Because there's twins. The other one is...
Oh.
Yeah, Craig
and Kevin.
Very musical.
Yes. He was in a band called Foghat, I think, a while back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which, with Wayne Sutton, I lived at Wayne Sutton's mom's house, kind of where we had some fun, partying and all that kind of stuff there. Wayne is like a professional musician. He's toured the the world. Played with the Allman Brothers. Played with some famous guys. So shout out to Wayne. And then shout out to Bill Petrie, who is a podcaster who lives in Nashville. You remember Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so far Heather McCollum.
Yep.
You know her. You didn't know her. And Robbie Troy and family.
Yeah.
Ricky.
His old brother.
It's funny because like Billy, Ricky, I think he probably wants to go by Rick now.
Rick.
Yeah, Rick.
Robin
Rick, and Kathy, and Dennis. Let's get back to this bullying. This is a statement I wrote down. Do you think that bullying necessary for kids to learn how to defend themselves? Because it's horrible. You don't want your kid to get bullied. But for me, it turned out in this one Leo Fabian instigated fight, which we'll talk about here in a second, I ended up coming out ahead. I hated the situation, the scenario I was put in. But for me, it actually boosted my confidence because I came out on the good end of the deal because of karate. Tell me about how Leo Fabian, and Leo, I know you're out there. We've talked since then, but you definitely messed up some people's lives, and you know that. But you've become a Christian since then. So I forgive you, but there was a time, brother, when you were really somebody to be feared. And I didn't realize to what extent until I actually started talking to you guys. So, and feel free to chime in below and reach out to me, Leo, because I think you were in the film business and did some radio voice stuff. I'd like to hear from you. But tell me what was the deal that Leo kind of got bullied you?
With Leo, it was like that for me. He would pick on, and he had a reputation for, you could hit him in the head with a brick and it wouldn't even affect him.
I didn't know reputation. That. Okay, yeah.
He was a badass,
Well, that he went. That's okay. We actually, I believe at Wilson, Leo was more heavy set kind of guy, and I hear that he went to military school, and so he disappeared for a year or maybe two, I don't know. And then when he came back, it was 9th grade for me, and he was in 10th grade. And he'd lost weight, he'd gotten tall, and I think he was like out for revenge. I don't know, maybe he got picked on, I don't know, but even in a military school, you can imagine, in military school, there's initiations, there's all sorts of stuff. So whatever mental issues, or the conditions that he went through, he came back with some sort of vengeance.
Anger management.
We call it PTSD now.
Yeah, right? But did you get into fights?
Oh yeah. But they were always, like real quick, like I said before, running. That was my thing, run.
Great fighting skill. Yeah.
Smack them in between the ears. And back then, fights were basically like, you get behind and you punch somebody and maybe you get a black eye and stuff. Like today,
your friends afterwards.
You don't know like who's been in Krav Maga or like MMA type stuff. You don't know,
or carrying a gun.
They'll put their heels up in your crotch and like choke you out. Kind of stuff now, but like then it was just
Yeah, you're right. Wrestling, you're on the ground throwing some punches, that kind of thing.
Right. And like I said, with reflection, for me there was a little bit of that Napoleon complex, new kid complex. I was always trying to be friends with everybody. Mm-hmm. So I'd jump from the jocks, to the freaks, to the ropers,
right? The ropers,
and so I'd have acquaintances in all these different areas, but very few like friends like David and I were really good friends. You and I were good friends. With Leo, I can't. There was one time where I remember we got into it a little bit, but it was more of just like picking on type stuff, that kind of bullying.
Gotcha. He made people like give them their lunch money. I rember he would literally say, "Where's my money?"
Stereotypical bully.
Yeah, stereotypical bully. Where's the lunch money? You owe me.
Yeah. Got to pay the toll.
Got to pay the toll.
Right.
David, what's your experience with Leo? Well, I apologize. I don't mean to be picking on you, Leo, but the fact that the three of us encountered you is fascinating to me.
Yeah, so he's off my list of people I'm going to kill. No,
okay. Right.
I never had a list, just be honest.
Well, David, just so you know, David, Steve Kroll was a friend of ours. He's like, I remember David Mason. I go, you do? Yeah, he was a legend. I go, oh, why do you say, did you see this fight with Troy Brock when he, He's like, no. I go, but he just had this reputation. He's a legend. He's karate. He's a black belt.
Well, black belt back then, there weren't a lot of black belts at 13 when I got it. And so I always try to keep it quiet because, I mean, people want to fight you. And there was a consequence if we fought, because we had black belt instructors that don't, and then you had to fight them.
Right.
And so, I mean, you know, I was off hours at school. I wasn't going to do karate. I was going to do in the evening. My dad owned the school. And so, you know, with Leo, I really didn't have a problem with Leo at all. I mean, I was aware of him. I was aware of he bullying, especially because I was friends with Tim, and him and Tim had a difference, and I never really saw it happening. But of course, I saw the other side of it, and I just stayed clear of him. And really, the only major fight I ever got in high school from 9th grade on was at Vines, and it was with Troy Brock, and he wasn't really like doing anything. He was more verbally bullying me and just kind of like messing with me, and I just like would walk away. It was the one day that it turned physical, and he was just standing in front of me. He pulled this leaf off of this plant. I remember specifically, and I always said, you know, I'll take all the talking, but if he puts his hands on me, we're gonna go. And he broke this leaf off, and it was just a leaf, and he slapped me across the head with it. And I jumped up, and I said, okay, that's it. Now we're going. And then all of a sudden, and I grabbed him. We locked out. And Troy was bigger than me, and I think he wanted to kind of see if I was really a black belt. Now when I look back at it, and so we locked up, and everybody kind of jumps in, but Leo was right there. And now I kind of look back hindsight. He wanted to see me fight. A lot of people did, you know. Mm-hmm. And if I would have invited people to karate more often, I probably wouldn't have had to deal with that now,
right?
Because I was being quiet about it. It seemed like I was hiding something. And so, anyways, and Troy and I were like, it was kind of like what Tim was saying. We realized we didn't want to fight, and then Lee goes, "Man, you all need to go out to the outside and do this. You can get in trouble." So we start walking. He actually corrals us out, and then the crowd corrals us out. And I tell this to my karate students all the time, how everybody around me really could have stopped it, you know. And at one point, we go all the way out. We go across the street to the alley. And apparently, this is where the fights happened. I didn't know that till I was all of a sudden there. It was muddy and just rained, and everybody's drowned. Fight! It was just so classic. It was like I felt like it was in a weird movie.
Yeah.
And then Troy's like, as we're walking, he comes up to me and goes, "Hey, man, do you really want to do this?" I go, "No, man, I didn't want to do this in the beginning. You kept screwing with me, and now you hit me." And I said, "Just don't put your hands on me, and we're cool." And Leo gets me, "Y'all can't talk, you're about to fight," and we separate. And I'm standing there, and I'm just looking at everybody's just surrounding us. And, you know, I've been competing extensively at that point. I mean, I can knock people out.
Right.
And I had knocked people out.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to knock him out. And I didn't really want to fight him. I have braces on and everything, and he's bigger than me, and he's standing. I think he played football maybe at one point, but and he's standing there. Everybody was like, and I look, and I throw this beautiful side kick. I mean, if you saw a side kick in karate, it was pop, and I popped him right on the lips. I mean, it was a kiss with the foot.
A side kick.
Yeah, right in the face. And I was like, wow, that was pretty. And then his eyes got big, and I stopped for some reason. And then all of a sudden, he just charged me, and I went to go, you know, do something. I slipped, and he put me in a headlock and pounded me in the head a couple times. And when I tasted the blood from my braces, I mean, this is the first time I ever experienced rage in my life.
You saw red.
I mean, I saw it. I couldn't see him. It was like a movie. Like it covered my eyes. I saw him, but it was red. And I bit him. I took a chunk out of his side. Looks like I was trained in karate. If you're violently attacked, which I felt like I was, and I felt, you know, a chunk drop in his shirt, and he screamed bloody murder. And I grabbed him by the hair like I was taught, and I ran my fingers up to his face and stuck them in his eyes, and I tried to pull his eyeballs out. And I just lost control. And when I realized I had him over the fence, my fingers, and I was trying to grip his eyeballs, and he was screaming. And then I just clawed his face down, and I almost vomited. I was so sick. And then Tim was over there, my buddy right here, and my bus.
You were there, Tim? You witnessed this fight.
Oh,
yeah.
right there.
So
I heard
anyways,
about it.
the bus pulls up, bus 56. I think I remember the bus. And he goes, "Your bus is coming. You need to get on the bus." And I'm like, "What did I just do to this kid?" And he's screaming, and I just run on the bus, and we leave. And Troy was out of school for a few days, maybe a week. I don't remember. It's kind of a blur now. And I just remember when he came back, in, everybody was saying, "Man, Troy's pissed." His dad said he needs to get revenge. You fought dirty. You did this or that. And I was like, oh, hell no. And when I heard it, I went right to his locker, and he was in the locker, and I slammed the locker. I said, all right, do we need to finish this? Because we're going to finish it. You're not jumping from behind. I'm not going to play that BS. And he goes, no, we're cool. And we never even talked after that. I mean, the next time I remember seeing him was at our 30-year reunion. But the weird thing about this is where Leo kind of comes into it. I could have stopped that fight. I mean, I could have walked away. It was my pride and ego that did that. But after that, when Troy and I were, whatever was done, then the whispers of, like, Leo was wanting to fight me now. And because he liked what I did, he wanted to see how good I was. And I was going, oh, man, this is just going to get bad.
Can of worms.
And then I just went, and this is the one, I'm going to shout out one name, and he was a 10th grader like Leo was. It was Lane Wilkins. And Lane Wilkins was the peacemaker. I went over to him and said, man, I don't want to fight this guy. I mean, he's big. I mean, I just want to be done with it. I just want to come to school and just get out. I don't want to mess with all this junk. And he said, he ain't going to mess with you. And he didn't. So whatever Lane did, I think because they were friends. And I always admired Lane Wilkins for that. And I used Lane as a lesson because that is the real hero. The guy was a peacemaker.
Right. I mean, when you see something happening and being bullied, you can be the equalizer that actually steps out on that limb, knowing that I might have to fight this person on this person's behalf.
Yeah.
Or you can figure out a way to diffuse it.
Yeah. Now I teach anti-bully classes in Weatherford, and I closed my school in Richardson. I moved it to Plano inside the church, and I closed it because I started teaching anti-bully classes for Parker County schools in Weatherford. And when I started really teaching that, obviously you teach the bully and the person who's bullying and the person getting bullied. That's the obvious thing in karate. Everyone teaches that. But really where I teach is everybody watching, everybody around. Like if Tim got 3 other people that day, or anybody for that matter, would say, you guys, this is it. We're more than these 2 guys, and this fight's not going to happen. And I hold everybody accountable. And it is, and it was really based on what Lane did, just because he was respected, and he probably could fight. And actually, I found out later he's in martial arts. Maybe he was the whole time. He kept it more quiet than I did. I mean, I didn't tell people. My friends told people. And so, anyway, so that was the whole thing on bullying. Is it's just. It's really the crowd.
When you guys got out of school, did you experience bullying going on at the workplace or in the military? You were in the military.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many areas. I really just think it's a human condition. I mean, I just think it's when people are thrust into a position of power or authority, and they're ill-equipped for it.
There's a lot of reasons, I think, for bullying. There's a lot of studies that go on, about this, and a lot of programs that are being tested and stuff in schools for anti-bullying and that sort of thing. I think it is a human condition but there's many different reasons for it. Some of it is peer driven, right? So like we've told stories.
Outside influence.
Everybody gets around you and is like, fight. So, but there's also like narcissism.
That's what I was going to say.
Cause that selfishness, a person who thinks so highly of themselves.
They can't be wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
unwilling to take constructive criticism, when somebody goes, hey, what you said the other day, really, you shouldn't have said that.
Right.
And then they bow up, opposed to going, oh my God, did I hurt somebody's feelings?
Pride and ego.
Right. Pride and ego.
There's different forms of bullying too. It's not always that physical, it's going to go up to a physical level.
Yeah.
Some of it's, in fact, probably more so. A lot of it's verbal. Somebody who thinks they're right all the time is, going to be, aggressive and argumentative. With it doesn't matter what it is, they're going to argue with you about it. And
I mean, people just they're you call it drama. There's always drama around them.
Right.
There's always something. And
yeah,
they feed into it. It gives them motivation to live.
It's adrenaline, whatever rush that is. When I worked for a company where my boss, I didn't realize it, but he discluded me from things when I first started. I was like I was like the 3rd employee, and they had their own clique, and they would kind of talk about me behind my back. And I remember like stumbling across some chats years after work is over. of my boss then, and I'm reading this and my stomach is starting to sink. I'm like, they were talking about me, discluding me, making fun of me. And I felt it, but I never knew it. And so that's a form of bullying that, what you said, they're put in a position of power and they're not equipped to handle it.